Millennial Book Club. Millennial Book Club.
And right now is when we play Millennial Book Club. Dude, I completely and utterly forgot.
You forgot, huh?
And welcome to the Magnus Ball Chamber.
This is the first one. You got plenty of time.
I know. What do you got?
I don't have anything.
Try it out.
Mr. Big Chevrolet.
Mr. Big Chevrolet.
Mr. Big Chevrolet. It's a toy store named Mr. Big.
I got a toy. It's a toy store.
Toy store. Yeah. They were famous because they sold the actual Voltron. Are you too old for Voltron? We probably talked about this.
A Millennial Book Club many moons ago we did was the toys that made us.
That's
and I
right.
think Voltron was on that.
Yes, it was, but you don't remember it, huh?
That's called a pull, brother.
Love the Will Sasso.
I know, dude. I try it all the time.
The Voltron was like you put the 6 things together and it makes this huge mega.
Yeah.
But the pieces were actually the individual. I don't know what the fuck you call them. They were like die cast metal though, so like they weighed a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because the Transformers did the same thing later on when I was like 12 and I got it. They were all like construction vehicles. It was so chintzy. They were all little plastic parts.
No,
like,
they don't make them the way they used
the
to.
guy standing like this, and then like the fucking Bobcat thing is just there. It's like, what is that? That's just fucking.
No, you need that metal that's gonna like leach lead into your kids slowly over a couple years.
Yeah,
knock them down a couple IQ points.
Everybody wanted it, and I remember, and it stained other of my friends' mind that Mr. Big's toy store in
Mr. Big's Chevrolet.
And he sold it, and I was like, holy shit, I'd love to go to that toy store.
Well, this, of course, is not Mr. Big's Chevrolet toy store. This is the Millennial Book Club. Back in action, presented by Road Soda, Popco brands. The Millennial Book Club. Well, there's no books at all. It's just fucking watching Netflix. Netflix originals as that. It has to be a Netflix original. And this week, our first week, we're opening up with, at the time of watching, was #1 on the TV list. And that would be Beckham. And Beckham, with never before seen footage, this docuseries follows David Beckham's meteoric rise from humble beginnings to global football stardom.
It was 4 eps, like about an hour a piece?
They were 4, about 5.
It was about 5 hours?
Yeah, no, it was about 4. Yeah. So each one was about an hour long. So yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe they're like an hour 20. I don't remember. I watched them all, dude. Because the original rules were that we had to put it on for at least like 20 minutes or something like that, or 40 minutes.
Yeah, and I invoked that rule several times.
Oh yeah, you have to, dude.
Some things suck so hard.
Some of these things suck so bad. I cannot waste my life. But this one ended. The first one I was watching it with Christy. First one ended. Second one on. Third one on. Halfway through. The next day came back, finished that one, and then the last episode. So it was within 2 days that bitch was devoured. I loved it.
I did the same thing. I didn't care anything about Beckham. I was like,
me neither.
Whatever, we'll watch it, right? Because it's soccer, man. I'm an American. I don't give a crap.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about it.
I think the timing was just to, because we're getting right into it. I think I watched most of the first episode in one sitting, and then I had to like take my kid somewhere or something. Then
kids.
I ran out of night. But then like the next day, I believe was Saturday. So I watched some like before lunch. Then I had shit I had to do. Then I came back, and into Saturday night, I watched like it was done. I watched like 3 hours late on a Saturday. And
so it's safe to say you want to give. It was safe to say you liked it.
Yeah, definitely. I would recommend it to anybody. It was. What I'll tell you was my favorite thing about it. It starts. They're talking about his dad being a huge Manchester United fan. That's the team he played for, Man U. And he was like a psycho about it. And they kind of painted a picture of his dad as like super one-dimensional. Work his balls off, come home, have a couple of pints, watch Man U.
What does his daddy do? Did his dad work in like some kind of fucking like factory? I mean, that's like what they all did back then.
Yeah, was it a factory?
It
was a factory or something. He did some type of like, if it wasn't manual labor, it was pretty close.
Yeah.
I think it was manual labor though.
Shoveling coal down at the...
What the hell was it? I wish I remembered it.
I feel like they did mention what his dad did.
They totally did. And it was, but it was some type of blue.
There's a way to find this out.
And we, so while you're looking it up, he did it like 12 hours a day. Like his mother also had at least one job. She worked a lot.
I remember she was a secretary, I believe.
Okay.
No, she was a hairstylist. She was a hairstylist
Yes,
because it showed a couple. It kept showing like a few different hairstyles, and I remember at one point I paused it to show Christy. I was like, dude, look at this dude. I was like, there's something really interesting about watching old home videos and seeing old pictures of people in Britain, because if it's at the right angle and like the right way, it just looks like an Americana, like that could be me and you. But then you see the next picture and they have like a weird looking yard that's too skinny, and you're like, that's either the Bronx or sorry, it's either Queens or like London. And then you see like this haircut and you're like, that ain't American.
That never came here.
That never happened in America.
He said, actually, I remember the hairstyles thing because he said when he was little, his mom did the hair right in the house. He's like, she had the big dryers and all that shit. And he was like, I was running getting tea and, what do they call it? Tea and crumpets or whatever for the ladies. Tea and cakes. He was a runner for it. But so.
It says he was his son. Yeah. He is the son of Sandra, a hairdresser, and his father, a kitchen fitter.
Like plumbing? Kitchen fitter.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. And it's so funny to see how like, old, like kind of old dirty dog his parents look, and he's just like one of the most handsome human beings alive.
Yeah. He's almost my age too. So I remember like throughout his life, when they're saying, what was he doing? I'm like, what the hell was I doing? He was like,
I know, that's,
a
dude, you can't do
billionaire.
that.
And I'm like, I remember smoking a jib on my freaking dad's
can't.
couch. I remember that World Cup because I remember that.
Which one? Which World Cup?
The 94 World Cup.
The one where he...
Not the big one. The first one that he was in.
Where he whiffed where he got the red card and everyone hated him?
Yes, because that was the one that Italy was really good. Argentina knocked him out, and then I think Italy beat Argentina in the final. But I was never into the World Cup, but I think I was in 94. I was his age. I'm 19. No, yeah, 19, and we decided we were gonna, because those games are on in the middle of the day, and I'm out of school, and I worked nights at a kitchen. And I remember a bunch of buddies of mine, we were like, let's watch these games somewhere. So we watched some at this guy's house. When it comes to my house, they're like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, we got to get something. So we went and got a bottle of tequila and a bottle of margarita mix. And I didn't have anything to mix it in. So my dad had this pressure cooker. You know those old school pressure cookers where you had to put the top on and then you locked it over on the side and the little thing would just... Yeah. I just took the lid off that and I went, let's throw some ice in, boom, and then we were ladling out margaritas. And my dad comes home at like
pressure cooker.
It was an old school pressure cooker. And my dad comes home at like 4 and he's like, what the fuck is going on, you fucking degenerate? I was like,
was it 4 in the afternoon?
Yeah, it was 4 in the afternoon. I was friggin'
3 sheets to the wind at 4 in the afternoon watching the World Cup.
Yeah, dude, a few ladles of margarita will get you, especially when you're 19,
Yeah.
So that's what I remembered, and he was like in it. So when I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, he definitely was shot out of a rocket compared to me.
He was shot out of a rocket, and the guy was always working. He was always practicing. That's what I like. I like when somebody, not only does he obviously have some kind of aptitude for it.
Well, he has OCD too. Clearly, that helps.
Yes, you're so right to put that into words, because the whole documentary, they never put into words that the guy's got OCD. But until they open up his closet and he goes... Someone's been in my closet.
Someone's been in my closet. And the guy was freaked out. By the way, do you know who the director of this was? Do you know who Fisher Stevens is?
No, who's that?
Did you ever see the movie Short Circuit?
No.
You never saw the movie Short Circuit?
I feel like they had to watch that on Dudesy or something.
Do me a favor. Just look up a picture. Because this is the deal. Steve Gutenberg is a scientist at a lab.
Yeah. They did. Okay, yeah.
The computer,
I know
the robot thinks he's so smart. He's become alive. So the stars of the movie are two computer guys. Ali Sheedy plays the chick that is like it's weird. She's like a love interest for the robot, but then she's a love interest for Steve Gutenberg. But there's two guys, Steve Gutenberg and Fisher Stevens. And Fisher Stevens plays the Indian guy when you could do that before white
Really?
guy.
Oh, yeah, before you were allowed to do that.
Yes, and that's, I think, for me, that's what he's most famous for. He's the Indian guy.
From
I'm
Short Circuit.
Experiencing a joy that would make something happen in my pants, Steve Gutenberg.
What's the name of the robot?
Johnny Five.
Johnny Five, yeah. So
Johnny Five is alive.
Yeah, so Short Circuit, that robot is actually a playable character in the Super Smash series, and
nice.
That's obviously my connection. Everybody knows it's such a
I love that we're getting to the
Everybody knows
old young right away.
Right
What's
away.
The old guy connection. What's the young guy?
Well,
connection?
the young guy connection is Johnny Five is a playable character in Super Smash Brothers. So.
Super Smash Brothers available where at Walmart, Target,
Available Target,
Walgreens.
anywhere video games are sold.
So he was the director. So I thought that was cool. And he's in it a couple times, kind of like briefly. I mean, he's in it talking to David Beckham, and where the OCD strikes you is definitely the closet scene.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, one of the eps in the first like hour or so, David Beckham's in his kitchen with Fisher Stevens. He goes, I love this thing right here. He's got this $15,000 cappuccino machine with all the fucking knobs and levers, and it looks fucking brand new. And he goes, man, I couldn't start my day without this baby. He goes, you want me to make you one? He goes, yes. And he goes, does anyone ever use this kitchen? It's this huge kitchen that you can run a restaurant out of. And he goes, he was insulted. He's like, yeah, mate, I cooked here my dinner last night or whatever. And you look at it and you're like, right away, I was like, this dude is massively OCD or like neat freak or something, because it looked spotless.
Immaculate.
And then he's like, yeah, he goes, after my family, this is David Beckham. He's worth $1 trillion. He could literally have a room in his house filled with strippers, another one filled with, naked girls that don't even, and instead, when his family goes to bed, Posh Spice and his kids, he comes back downstairs and he says, I pick up all the dishes. He said, I don't want to have dishes around. I clean the kitchen up. And then he goes, I go and clip all the wicks in the candles. Because if the candle wick gets too long.
Yes, it smokes.
It smokes. He goes, I clean out the inside of the candles and I clip the wicks. And I put the lights on in the house at the right setting. So when you push the button, all the lights are on.
Because I like coming down in the morning and seeing that. And I'm like, that dude, that's like...
That dude is a dude that can sit there and practice kicking a ball against a wall.
Yeah, just like against, over and over, getting that right angle, just kicking it.
So he's definitely, if he's not autistic, I mean, sometimes autism he's probably not. Maybe
he definitely has OCD. I would say obsessive compulsive disorder. Things have to be a certain way, a certain thing. He's very into rituals and you see every time he walks on the field doing like little things. But yeah, that obsessive
the game of soccer,
mindset.
Dude, there's not a lot going on.
You're
running, you're making your passes to a certain spot, you're shooting, you're practicing collecting the ball on your foot or pushing the ball away with your foot or kick. I mean,
right.
You know what I mean?
It's ball control. Yeah. And I paused it again, and when I was watching it with Christine, I was like, soccer is really not the one sport. I could say you can actually put golf into this same category.
Any sport to a certain extent, but soccer's so simplistic. I think it's right there.
But where I'm getting is that it's where athleticism doesn't matter as much as practice. Technical, whereas technical practice. So it's like in basketball, if you're not a certain height, you're probably not going to be a great player unless you have like super crazy muscle density that allows you to like jump and slam dunk. Unless you're a meat mountain, you're not playing football. Like those things, genetic athleticism.
I say that all the time. Regular sized humans are not made for football or basketball.
No. Genetic freaks and athleticism is what makes a fighter, is what makes football, like all these other sports. But when you're playing the game of soccer, it's like being able to have good cardio, which anyone can really acquire just running a lot, and the rest is just practicing ball control. Like you might start out with slightly better hand-eye coordination than the next person, but at the end of the day, it's how many hours did you spend just trying to learning how to control the ball, read the other players, and all that stuff. Like that, I think is really cool because it levels the playing field as far as like.
You still have to be a freak of nature, I think, with your hand-eye coordination. And
sure,
hand-eye is the same as foot-eye. It's like eye and brain.
It's all colloquial, like the same kind of.
Yeah, you have to be otherworldly if you're going to play, even probably to play pro soccer.
Of course,
because you could practice me and you could practice all day and do whatever. You're not going to be able to just naturally get that ball in a dead run. And just some of the crap.
Maybe I mean I don't know. If you're practicing since you're 5, I think it's the same as like golf. I mean, there's some real sloppy dudes like John Daly doing golf, but like they're the best golfers in the world. It's because like they're just, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's like a practice thing, and like maybe there's definitely less genetic play than let's say basketball or football. For
basketball and football, you cannot be a regular human being and play those games.
No. There is no such thing as
like.
Have
you ever
doesn't
seen
matter how
pro
much I
football
practice.
players in real life, like more than
I've like bumped into like and seen them. They're just all of them are huge
because they'll put on a piece of paper like he's 6'4", 240, and you're like, that doesn't seem that big. And you probably know people in your life that are 6'4", in height and 240 or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you see a football player that's 6'4", 240, you're like,
It's just different.
what the fuck, dude? You know what it is? It's the neck. It's the neck is as thick as the head. You can't.
It's always weird.
You can't lift enough weights to make your neck thicker than your head like that.
How do you work that muscle right there?
Even like the big quarterbacks, like Brady and Manning, and there's a guy right now that's playing. I call him the Avatar because he looks like one of those avatars from Avatar. He's
just
got
lanky?
Well, I'm saying his actual face. When I look at him, I'm like,
Oh,
damn,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
put
He's got
blue
like
on
a
him-
weird nose.
Yeah, he just. But he's a quarterback. He's like this blonde dude. He's like 6'5". He's not tackling people. He's throwing the ball. His head is a certain thickness, and then his neck is just the same thickness down to the shoulders. I
Right.
mean, so it's just it's way more genetic.
It's
Soccer's
way
not
genetic.
that.
Yeah, it is. It's
So
all
his
genetics.
OCD, I think, helps him
I
because
would
he's just
have
sitting
that
out there,
doubt.
just popping the ball around
over
and-
all day.
Yeah.
And then when it comes down to, I mean, you do have maybe your muscle fibers, like, the quick twitch, all that kind of stuff, like maybe getting up to a sprint and getting to the ball before somebody else. But I mean, that's such a small piece of the entire game of like, just if I can control the ball and get it to my teammate like perfectly, it's almost, who cares how fast you're running? You're not running faster than the ball. I'm kicking over to this guy. It's like, I don't know. I just thought it was really cool. I never cared about football. I never cared about soccer. I never cared about it. But I cared about this docuseries. I was very invested. And I think it was because I was so invested in David. I don't know how much they sort of were just like stroking him off during this thing, but he seems like a great fucking dude. A really stand-up dude.
down to earth.
It's
hard to not like him. If you watch it, you will come away being like, that dude's pretty
He's
fucking
solid.
awesome. Yeah.
He's solid. It's like every one of his actions, like there are pivotal moments when it's like, okay, what decision he makes in this moment is going to define him as like just another jagoff that got rich, or somebody that's like a real ass dude. You know what I mean? And time and time again, he kept choosing like,
Because he was just authentic, I think.
yeah.
To be real, he's just one-dimensional guy that doesn't have anything other than I kick the ball.
And there's something
they give me a
about that.
check, and I just want to keep going playing.
There's
I
something
also
about
like Posh Spice.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's this. So maybe it's a little easier to be down to earth and authentic when you're kind of an autistic OCD freak that only knows one thing. And I'm way over. It's reductive and all that shit, making him sound like an asshole. But he's not a guy that's super complicated. You know what I mean?
No, but that's what's beautiful about
It
it.
is
There's,
beautiful.
You
It
know
is
what you're
beautiful.
getting. You know what you're getting. There's no like bullshit.
That was not a
with
shot at
it.
him at all. I'm just saying.
No, yeah.
You know what you're getting with the guy.
I don't think it was a shot from you. I think people can take that as like, oh, being one dimensional. I think to make sure to reiterate the fact that it's like, that's what makes a guy solid, and you're not getting all this weird, like, there's nothing to, exactly who he is. And I think that's respectable.
Like, he makes all this money, and you always think about, like, right when I hear about a guy that makes a lot of money, I always
Yes.
go to, like, Epstein Island. Because it's like, I didn't have a lot of money. Then I started having sex with women. Now I have some money. Now I can pick the most attractive woman in the room. Now I can have 3 of them.
Yeah.
Now I can have one with one leg.
Now
I
you're
can
like-
have a third leg installed on one. Now we're doing all this crazy shit, and you're like,
now
dude,
it's like, let's get the labradoodle in here.
remember that dude? The guy that was like eating their freaking. Remember there was a guy, like a high profile dude from a rich family.
Arm
Arnie.
Arm and Hammer.
Something Army Hammer.
Army Hammer. Yeah,
Army
yeah.
Hammer. Which is that dude's obviously
The
gonna be
guy's like,
sexist
I
with
want
it.
to eat your flesh.
Yeah.
I want you to be a part of me.
Did he actually eat any flesh?
I think he did. Maybe he did or didn't.
just a little. He took
Just
her
a
arm
little-
off. He didn't eat much.
Just
you
it
know?
was the cuticles. You can't even feel it.
But that's what you think of when you think of a rich guy. And David Beckham, the money is coming in so
Yeah.
hard, and he's like, I just got really frustrated, so I got into my 100,000. Like, by the way, they were all one dimensional kind of, because the soccer players are like, what the hell? We all are getting paid to play for Man U. This kid comes in, he bought a second car, 2 cars. I can only drive one. And now we all went and bought 2 cars.
And now
This
we're
way-
all trying to
and he
keep up
bought
with
a
him.
watch. He has several watches, and he has 2 cars. They're just simple guys. They're
They
like,
were
just,
simple guys, and
just go kick that ball.
it showed how much of a good guy he was, because every single person, even his opponents, liked him.
Oh yeah.
Even the people he was playing against were like the guy was like, did you think he should have got that red card? He's like, no, I don't think he should have got it. Like, even they liked
Can
him.
we just talk about that right now since you brought it up? Dude, that was so fucking stupid. Like, that's so ridiculous. And it was such a huge part of his life. I mean, you saw...
Dude, the whole country...
Like, death threats and shit.
Dude, death threats, because they take it seriously, dude. It's like the...
But
remember...
wouldn't you be a regular... Even if you're a super fan, wouldn't you be like, that's fucking bullshit that he got a red card for that?
You got to think
so
a lot of people...
stupid.
It's like... A lot of people have like $20,000 riding on it, or 20,000 pounds riding on it, and then it's like, that's your dad, so now you're just like, well, dad hates him.
It's one thing if you're the guy that missed the kick at the end or dropped the pass. You're the guy that didn't play the second half. I will kill you for not playing the second half.
It's like, dude, how much does that speak for the whole team? Like, you think it was just me?
Well, hold on. So wait, now this is something I feel like in all of you've been saying about Dak, you realize he is like the Michael Jordan of that era of soccer, especially in England.
In England, and at that time, I mean, there was that one...
maybe in like Europe, you know?
Well, there was that one guy, he was like a writer. I mean, the first time they cut to him, he was ripping a heater inside his house. He's like, dude, I fucking loved him.
He was like in a big room loaded with books, right?
Loaded with books, and he had like crazy hair, and he's ripping. He's like, yeah, so David Beckham. Like, he was a good guy. But he mentioned David Beckham was really good, but he wasn't the best in the world.
But he was...
Massey and those other guys that were on his team were technically better scorers and technically
not on
better.
his team. I think he was definitely...
Well, it wasn't until he moved to Real Madrid. Those guys were on his... It was Massey was on his team and whoever the other guy...
No. I don't think he was playing yet. You're thinking of...
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it's funny to me how they all have one name. It's
I
like
know.
all of the stars. The guy that they kept going to, he was like this big, dark, black hair, black eyebrows. They kept going to him and they're like, what do you think about Rico? And he's like... Recon or something when he goes, Recon, he wins. And that was all they did. And then they come back to him later and they were like, what did you think about him with Posh Spice? Posh Spice, yeah. He had like nothing to add at all.
But they got him in there.
But he's got like one name and they were like, there was like 5 guys that, you know, and I also thought it was funny that there's a Ronaldo playing now.
Ronaldo, it was a Ronaldo and some other guy. And he said, he goes, these were the best.
Vigo.
Whatever
Figo.
the fucking name was,
Yeah.
Figo, Ronaldo, whatever they were, he was top tier. He was definitely like up there. But I think as much as like scores or like scores and all that kind of stuff, those guys were technically better than him. But he was like, because he was married to Posh Spice, who was a Spice Girl, and because he was putting England back on the map after being out so long, he got a lot more exposure. But he was still like top 5, but not like the best.
But so. Yes, but not, that distinction right there makes me want to say this. He's the top guy in England, right?
Yeah.
And then Vigo is, the best guy in Spain or wherever he came from. Yeah. There's another guy in France.
And there's a guy in Brazil.
England is like fucking New York of fucking Europe.
Yeah, it
you know
is.
what I mean?
It
He's
really
the top
is.
guy in New York. Vigo's the best guy in Florida. You know what I mean? Ronaldo's great from Texas, but like,
but you got to remember, but it is a world sport,
It is.
So they're all competing against each other around the world.
But I bet you that the South American dudes at the time were like, dude, Beckham.
They all were. They all really respected him.
And they're all respectful guys. Like,
they all
I'm sure
respected
Beckham
him.
knew all these guys in all these different countries. I'm just saying he was just up there in a class.
He was. Oh,
they
yeah,
opened
without
the
a doubt.
thing with that goal. That wasn't lost on me how fucked up that was. I'd never seen it before. They
What
showed when he was young, one of his first games with Man U.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck it, I'm just going to try it.
The half-field goal.
Yeah, dude. That's insane.
That'll
dude.
put you on the map.
I don't think anyone's ever done that besides him. I think that's the one time it's been done.
I think, he said he had done it like in his younger years.
Well, he tried it, but like it doesn't go in. It gets blocked or it goes over this net.
He
dropped it right in on the goalie.
Dude.
Makes him look so bad, dude. He's like, oh shit, it's going over my head. Oh man, it went over
how
my
bad
head.
do you feel?
I know.
As the goalie.
Well, he was probably killed. I mean, if
they killed him, dude.
Death threatened Beckham for not playing the second half.
Taking him out. Dude, how could you imagine? It reminded me of the you remember that movie Rat Race with Cuban Gooding Jr. and he fucked up the coin flip on the Super Bowl. And so his character, the entire movie, they're like, "Hey, you're that guy. I lost $15,000 because you remember that guy?
I know.
Do you remember Rat Race?
Wasn't that weird movie where they're all in Vegas watching?
They're all in Vegas with John Cleese.
Yes.
And John Cleese, they're all crazy gamblers.
Yes. I love that movie.
Dude, that's like
cheesy.
That is one of the best fucking movies ever.
But I don't remember Cuba Gooding doing
Cuba Gooding was his character was he's in Vegas just trying to like lay low, and he was the referee during the Super Bowl, and then at the coin flip, they did the coin flip, and they're like, "What is it? Heads or tails?" He's like, I don't know. Wait, and he like fucked up the coin flip. And so everyone like
I do remember
hates
that.
him, dude. And like at one point, the taxi driver like sees him in he gets in a taxi cab with some guy, in the taxi, the guy like he was like remembers who he is, so he takes him out into the middle of the desert and like takes all his clothes and just like leaves him out in the middle of the desert because he lost like fucking 20 grand or some shit.
That's awesome.
I just think
that's what it is. Most of, by the way, there's a lot of
it's gambling. Yeah,
there's a lot of money being lost.
It's gambling, and then it's also like it's for sometimes it's fun to jump on that train. You know what I mean? It's fun to just be like, David Beckham sucks, and like people are showing up with casts on, be like, David Beckham kicked me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's fucking stupid.
Why it was touching to me, I think, was because here's the general story. His dad is just a working stiff dude. Him and his wife work their balls off for their little yard that's too narrow for you.
Too narrow for me, dude. That's England.
And then he loves Man U. That's all he does. He's got no hobbies. He's got no outside interests. He's feed his kid, kick a ball at his kid, Man U. He gets a new. What do you get for Christmas every year? A new Man U uniform.
A new jersey because you grabbed the other one.
Then his kid, through crazy autism and also him being at the sideline going, "I want to kill you. I'm going to hit your mother again if you don't score."
He's never telling him he did good.
He never telling me he did good. Recording every game. Like people want. I'm sure nobody ever liked the dad at the games. No, they're just kids. Shut the fuck up, lady. David, get out there. So, and then the kid becomes the best player for Man U. He was so young playing for Man U like that. How cool is that for a dad, you know?
Incredible.
And then
incredible.
The kicker is when he gets brought onto the England team the first time to represent the country, remember the guy who was the coach? He was his dad's David Beckham when he was a kid. Waddle or something like that was the guy's name. Wadham. He picks his kid. It's like, holy shit. It's like if I loved Tom Brady growing up and then I have a kid and I'm like, throwing the ball to him, being a dick at all his games, and then he goes to the Patriots, and then there's an American football team in the Olympics, and Tom Brady says, "I want your kid to be." What is fucking cooler than that?
Nothing's cooler than that.
Oh my god,
nothing's cooler than that.
He
for
had
both,
every reason to be a maniac with the money and the weird stuff like we're talking about because that's like winning Powerball. The odds of that happening,
but he never did. But he wasn't. That's the thing. That's what it was crazy. Yeah, he spent like on nice things. He liked to be well dressed and things like that. But at the end of the day, he really wasn't doing anything crazy with his money. No, you know, and outside of just opulence, it wasn't like he was. I mean, there was that one episode where they kind of talk about him having an affair, but they never even confirmed or denied that affair in the documentary.
I didn't look that up.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
In the documentary, they never confirmed. They just said there was accusations, and then they moved on. They said it was tough for them, and then they moved on.
But see, I think they know their audience, and they think most of the people that were watching that were like, did you see the Jordan Last Dance thing?
No. I mean, I know what it is, though.
So, all right, I'm trying to think. Like, they think it's a big bio. Like, that's something that I think is like common knowledge for people that would be followers of Beckham, that happened and how it worked out and all that. And they probably didn't want to touch on it. But I was like, I'm pretty sure he had an affair based on the way that they handled it. And they didn't want to, like, pound on it.
Right.
But it was one affair. You know, it wasn't like he was this. He could bang any girl that he wanted.
And then when you saw him, when he got. First of all, I hate his head coach on Manchester United. This is the one thing I gotta say. I felt like that guy from the beginning. It started out with this like very fatherly kind of, you know, I'm bringing you on as the youngest player. You're a great prospect and everything. And then, but as he grew, I feel like it went from all eyes on the coach for choosing an amazing player to now all eyes on this player. And I think that his coach I feel like that guy became very jealous of David Beckham, and it just like let that destroy the relationship because David Beckham didn't want to leave the team. Yeah, he wanted to stay there. He traded David Beckham behind his back. Yeah, and just like got rid of him, and for no reason. There was like no real reason at all.
Well, they said, because remember, they played Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And at the end, the guy, Vigo, or one of the guys said, "Hey, you should come play with us."
Sure, but anybody can say anything.
He was like, "Hey, man, like, that's great. That's cool." But
when you have, like, the best player in England on your team, like, why would you, that you hand chose and you picked, it just felt like the problems that kept coming back where it was like, they hated, the guy made him stop playing for a couple of games because he was out partying too much. Like he would drive to go see Posh Spice and get back too late, but then he'd show up for practice, but they just hated that he was doing that.
Yeah,
and it's like,
so they cut his hair once, and they were like, "That's
I know." It's like they just hate it. It's like anytime he was doing anything that brought eyes to him in the sport, they just got like, it was like they got shitty, and it was like a weird, shitty way to be. And then the way the guy was talking about it in the interview, he was still just like brushing it off as like, I didn't talk to. It's like, why didn't you talk to him? He's like, what was I going to talk to him about? It's like, dude, you're still jealous of this kid. It's like, instead of,
well, he did make the decision, so now he has to stand by it.
Well,
He's
still,
that guy
it's
that
just-
he knows what he's doing and everything he does is right.
it's just so.
But there is something in team sports to being like a really good head coach. Like Bill Belichick, a lot of success for like 20 years in a row.
Yeah.
Right? And he had his one quarterback, but dude, it wasn't his one quarterback that did it. It was all these other innovations. Some of the things he did were like he wouldn't let his running backs have huge seasons, because what happens at the end of that? They go, I want to get paid. And he was like, guess what? No, I'm going to use you half. You're going to get some play. No one's going to want too much money.
Yeah.
He never picked like the first pick. Even when the Pats were able to get down low in the draft and get a guy, those guys are too expensive and they're a risk. I'll go with a guy who's been playing for 5 years, or we'll get a guy out of the third. All these little things are about dampening any one guy from standing out. And he would get rid of guys if they became too big, because once that happens, now all the guys see the one head sticking out above and they're like, hey,
we all want a little
there?
piece.
I need to be, I'm better than,
Right.
And then it becomes a big, huge problem, you know?
Which,
and it sounds foolish.
And
but
no, it doesn't. I completely.
Did this guy go a little beyond that?
I feel like he did, because it didn't seem like the other players were really doing that. It seemed like everybody was kind of rallying behind David, and everyone liked him there. It didn't seem like there was any of that like clamor. Like, it didn't seem like they wanted the spotlight that David was in. They were happy to be playing with David. They were all friends with him. It just kind of felt like it was like the coach just didn't. I don't know, dude. It just
it's
seemed,
England too, by the way, right?
Shitty.
So like it's kind of a negative thing to be like American in England. You have to be stodgy, and everything is downplayed. And now that we look back, it's like, dude, that was a terrible idea. You should have kept David Beckham until he retired.
No shit, because he would have done it too. He said he didn't want to play for anybody else ever.
Yeah, but hindsight is 20/20.
Sure.
And what if David Beckham doesn't turn out to be that guy? Him and Posh Spice flip a Ferrari over and kill kids, and they die. And now he looks like an asshole for, and they lose a season because everyone, who knows? You know what I mean? Or maybe he's the coach. He wants to have the iron fist. It seemed to me.
It seemed stupid.
Stupid.
And it seemed really ridiculous. And for me, it felt like it was coming from this place of like weird jealousy. Yeah. But I think when they did make that trade and he goes to Real Madrid and you see him like arriving in Spain.
Oh, that was crazy.
And you see him like walking around and he's like this tall, blonde Fabio like shirt unbuttoned down to here. It's like, how could he not have an affair, dude? All those bitches in Spain see that guy walking in.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, he was like the picture of like Spanish sex at that time, like this Mediterranean, like he was like blonde but had a little bit of a tan. He was like lean and with like dude, everything about it.
At this point I want to interject to say I was around for the Spice Girls, like, emergence into American culture. Whatever.
Who wasn't?
Well, I don't remember him being all that hot. I did like Scary Spice. I thought she was pretty hot. But the rest of them, I'm like, I don't know. They just weren't like super. But watching this and all the close-ups and listening to Posh Spice talk or whatever, I'm like, holy shit. And then even when they were showing her, like, I only saw like the 3 videos they did. I didn't ever see any interior life of the Spice Girls.
No.
But now watching her like in the hotel room talking with him and all, I'm like, God damn it, she was a fucking 10 and a half in 1993. And then when they were showing her now, she's a fucking 10 and a half.
I think 55. She went up to 11.
I mean, she is unbelievable at her age.
And it's funny because I was hearing it from Christy's point of view as far as like the Spice Girls at that time. She goes, nobody wanted to be Posh. Nobody really liked Posh Spice because she was the quiet, reserved one. She didn't draw a lot of attention. It was mostly like Scary Spice and like whatever the other. But like she was like the least liked Spice Girl. But it's funny because now, when you look at them just like on face value, it's like she's like the most attractive one. So I don't know what we were thinking back then.
They didn't do a good job of marketing her.
I don't think she really wanted that. She even mentioned it in the show where she was like, I was more shy and reserved. I wasn't like the attention seeking Spice Girl. Like there was much more other.
And then there was a funny moment where she was like, I was, I'm just coming from work a day, and he's listening to her do the interview. He goes, "Oh, you were blue collar just like the rest of us. What did your father drive?" And she's like, "We work like what your father did." And then finally, she was like, "My father had a Rolls Royce when I was in high school." He went, "Thank you." And then he shut the door like,
"Don't lie."
And that was so funny for me because my wife used to say the same shit. My wife comes from Long Island, money. Her mother had a really good high-paying
Right.
job. Her dad was a clinical social worker. They made tons of money. The only cars they drove were Mercedes.
Yeah,
Her dad's hobby was him and 3 of his buddies went in on a Cessna and they like split it up. So I get it one week. This is not the shit that people
dude, that's
do.
not working class. Sorry.
Yeah. So when we start talking, she's like, "No, I was just like you." And
we're
I'm like,
both from working class, very hard working class. He's
Yeah.
like,
So I
don't
love
lie.
I
don't
love that
lie.
he did that because I was
What
like,
kind of car did your dad drive you to in school?
Exactly.
She goes, well, it's a hard answer. Just what was the car?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he had like a lot of different. No. What was the car that he drove to? My father had a Rolls Royce.
and that's it. And that's mic drop. And we all know now. 99.9% of the world are like, okay, we get it now.
And
you know?
it was also that interaction that we had between the two of them.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, they love each other. That's a solid relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Dude, half of the thing was like, if she wasn't with him, he was like unraveling.
Yeah.
It's like, dude,
yeah.
just play your goddamn soccer game.
He
We'll
was
see
like
you next
soccer
week.
and posh. That's all he cared about.
Yeah.
And now apparently all he cares about is some weird kitchen tent he has out in some kitchen yurt that he's got in the backyard.
And that's how they ended it. They opened with his OCD, and they ended it with. Well, wait. Before anything, was there anything I wanted to touch on? Because before we get
we're
to
rolling up on the end of this one.
Are we? Okay,
Yeah.
so there was one cool scene where they showed Mick Jagger just at one of the games.
Yeah.
And I don't think you see that a lot. Mick Jagger just is a dude in the crowd, and he was like, "Yeah, let's go get him." And I'm like, "That's fucking Mick Jagger."
Could you imagine?
What is happening that Mick Jagger is in the crowd? Right?
Well, Mick Jagger
Jagger's
is
on stage.
he's a British guy, and they all love soccer.
But like every piece of footage you see from Mick Jagger, he's either in like a living room getting interviewed by Life magazine, or he's on stage with the other 3 dudes, and there's a throng of people. He's up. When you see him in a crowd, it was just weird for me that I was like, he's an English guy.
He's
They're
in the
really
crowd.
into it. He's in the crowd.
Now he's in the crowd.
Yeah. And then the red card thing, I just thought that was so fucking stupid.
ridiculous.
Just on so many levels. How can that even be allowed to happen? And then the fact that all that shit happened and he was able to overcome, they did kind of come back to him. That was good. And then he left to go to America, right? That was kind of the end of his career.
How could you can't say no to that paycheck?
It was a lot of money. It was a lot of money. There's not a lot of
can't
guys
say
that have
no
been
to
paid
that
that much money even now, and this was like 20
Yeah,
years
and it's
ago.
funny when he showed up to do that. He was like some guys were like working lawn maintenance, on that team, on those like in that league. I was playing against guys that were like cleaning pools.
Yeah.
And he's walking with a cool $100 million.
It was a ridiculous paycheck.
Ridiculous paycheck.
Yeah. But why wouldn't he? At this point, once I feel
Yeah,
like
once
once
kind of
England
things
got rid of him,
collapsed.
he just was untethered. He was
Well,
like,
because
look-
once it was when he was in Real, and they made him stop playing.
right.
And
Because
dude-
remember the same guy from England that
same
came in as
asshole.
he almost looks like a guy that's like he always this one character actor. He always plays the fucking bad guy in like
Yes, I know exactly what you're
boardrooms of
talking about.
movies, and he was the actual
They
guy.
just liked him because he spoke English and Portuguese and Spanish and French. So he was able to communicate with all the different players on the team. That's why they brought him on to Manchester at one, or the whatever team. He's like, I couldn't tell if they just wanted me there because I was actually a good coach, or because I could speak all the different languages of the people on the team. And then when they got him on Real Madrid, it was obviously the same thing. Like, okay, so you've coached Beckham before, so you kind of know him, but you also speak English and Spanish and Portuguese, and you can communicate with all these guys.
Real Madrid was a weird situation because that guy in England was the coach for like years before Beckham came on. He was still the coach.
Still coach.
Then Real Madrid, remember they were like,
Coach.
he brings him on, Madrid's going to be good. They lost a game. He was beheaded. They brought
Don't
another-
worry,
they just-
we took care of that other coach.
they
we
showed,
really
like-
like this guy. now.
They did a montage of like, and this is the new coach. 14 months later, this is the new coach.
And then they
So-
got that one coach who brought him on, and because he talked to the people in America, he made them stop playing for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But you know what? Here's another moment in David Beckham's life where the choice he makes is like, okay, I can just, fine, I don't have to play. I'm going to stay home.
You guys don't want to play? I'm fine. I'll stay in my mansion with Posh.
Or he does the
Doubles down.
The doubles down, does the good guy thing, shows up to every fucking practice. He doesn't have to. He's like one of the best paid people there.
To be fair, he is
he's
David
not-
Beckham, so it's not like I don't know that there was so much of like a you're a loser factor, but they made him practice. They were like, if you're
by
going to come
himself.
practice, you go
So
off
not
to the
only
side.
that, but he ate that shit sandwich.
Yeah.
He didn't have to because he didn't even have to show up to practice because he wasn't going to be playing at the games.
How many people are on the earth? Like 7 point something billion.
Yeah.
I bet you 10 or less in his situation would eat that shit
Would
sandwich
eat
because you
that
have
shit sandwich.
everything at the world at your feet. fuck you guys. I'm sick of
Yeah,
playing
fuck
this
you.
game
Exactly.
anyway.
Fuck you guys. But no, I'm going to keep showing up and I'm going to keep practice. Oh, you're going to make me practice by myself? Fine, I'll fucking do it. Dude, it was those moments when I was like, holy shit, David Beckham's a good dude.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the kind of guy you look towards to be like, that's the kind of guy I want to be like, because that's a good fucking guy. Because I don't think I would. I would definitely be
Nobody
like,
would.
you know, fuck
Nobody
you
would.
guys. I'm not wanted here. I don't want to. He's like, no, I'm going to keep showing up. Dude, so many incredible things. I would put Beckham, the docuseries on Netflix. I would put it as a must watch it.
Yeah.
And of course, our ranking system is must watch if it's there, or go ride a bike.
And I don't think anyone's going to disagree. It's definitely a must-watch. You don't have to care about football or soccer. You don't have to care about Beckham. It was culturally
just
relevant
awesome.
throughout, and it was just really cool.
It was
really
well
done, too.
It was really well done.
They didn't pound on anything too much. They moved through his life enough.
And there was enough material in his life to get a good, entertaining 4-part series out of it.
Visually, it was good, too. Sometimes docs get choppy and stuff, because they were jumping around to a lot of locations. There was a lot of people that are disparate people now. Like that guy that he got the red card from.
Yeah.
He had to go find that guy in like Argentina. Who knows what that dude was doing just to get his 5-minute thing going. Did you think it was bullshit? Yeah, it was a bullshit.
Yeah, it was pretty bullshit.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
And then one other thing I wanted to say was just they opened with his OCD showing you the coffee maker thing.
Yeah.
They kind of let on with it throughout. The shower,
you see his closet.
the closet thing. Yeah, he's like,
Fucking
I like the
wild.
shirts, not just the shirts and everything are perfect. He's like,
Here's
I like
my
to do like
knits.
yellows to greens.
Here's my knits. Here's my cold weather. It's like, what the?
That's a dude that spends a lot of time fucking organizing shit just so. And then at the end, like you said, whatever that thing was, they had like a castle home, and then like in 3
On the
acres
lawn.
behind in the lawn in the back, they had this. It must have been like $1 million out structure
Yeah.
with screens on it, and he's out there.
It's like a kitchen.
It was a kitchen, yeah, a better kitchen than I'm sure.
But it was like a tent. It's like, what the fuck are you doing out here?
I know,
It's like a weird horse stable tent.
I mean,
turned
it-
into like some eclectic kitchen where everything's like brass and copper. It was fucking weird. It looked
was weird.
beautiful. Looked like good food came out of that
If
place.
you lived in a castle, wouldn't you kind of want to be like glamping right out in the back? I think that's what it kind of was, because it was like
Kinda is, yeah.
burlap roof or whatever the hell it was, and they just showed him. The thing ends after all this. He's like, I just want my kids to be down to earth.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to do with their dad's David Beckham and their mom's Posh Spice.
Posh Spice is gonna be kinda
And he
hard.
goes, but I think we're doing okay. And then it shows them like a couple, they're having a beer. She's like, all right, I'm going to go in with the kids. I got shit. And he's like, okay. And then he takes out his freaking cleaning supplies
And he
starts
says-
cleaning that fucking kitchen like a goddamn maniac. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's got a bank account with like 10 figures in it, and he's out in his...
Pay somebody to clean it.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
It's like his blessing and his curse is that
It
OCD.
totally is. It totally. I think the whole thing can be boiled down to that one thing in his brain, where it's, is he a just OCD? And I think that OCD pointed in the right direction,
Yeah.
turned him into who he is.
And so I think that's filmmaking, because that was the message.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything about that. He said, you could be the judge. Here's just a few looks into his life. What do you think? And I think...
you show him that closet, and you're like, what do you think's going on in this guy's head?
And if David Beckham watched that, he'd be like, this was a really good, this was good. You weren't calling me like a OCD freak.
Yeah, you didn't call me a
autistic
freak. We just got to show people my drawer
Yeah.
where I've got the shirts slightly stacked up so I could see the one under the other.
Yeah, and
Like
when he
it's a-
watched it, he was like, oh, look at that closet. Yeah, that shit's all fucking
No, he
nice.
looked at that closet and he
Clean
goes,
that.
that shirt's fucking out of place.
Someone touched
Somebody,
that.
dude, why? Because one of the hangers was like slightly shifted. That was crazy. He goes, so who was in there, David?
Yeah.
Who the fuck was in there?
Yeah, well, he's got kids. They probably were fucking around with this stuff.
Dude, kids do that a lot. We
Black,
used to
it
do
was like dark blue, darker blue, black, darker blue. Like,
what the fuck? We used to do that with my mother. We used to like move shit around, and my sister used to do it all the time to fuck with her. All right, so next week, be sure to watch the movie. Actually, let me pull it up while we're
little Justin Timberlake, also super red hot on the Netflix.
Oh yeah, so we
list.
went. So Beckham was top 10. Beckham was top 10 in the TV side, and
What was it? Top 10 in what? Was it like overall views?
I think they do. I think they. I don't know. It's like how many weeks. I don't know. I think it's by. I really don't know how they organize it.
Okay.
And
I think they tend to stay away from views, because then the people that make the stuff are like, hey, this many views, you got to pay us. Where they go, you were number 3 for 2 weeks. that it makes it hard for them to be like, hey, we need. I know they just had the strike and they worked it out, but that was just like a month ago.
I don't know how. Yeah, I still don't even know if it's all.
It's definitely
squared
not.
away.
It's definitely squared away.
So we are going to be watching. This was the top at the time. It was number 1 in the movie side of Netflix, and it's of course an original. Reptile. Oscar winner Benicio del Toro stars alongside Justin Timberlake and Alicia Silverstone in this simmering crime thriller.
You know who Alicia Silverstone is? You have no idea who Alicia Silverstone is.
The actress? Yeah.
Do you know her from anything?
I can't.
This is like her. She was an actress a long time ago, and now she's like middle-aged.
Still actress. She's still an actress.
Well, no, there's a long period where she was not an actor. I don't know. I mean, I never saw anything.
She was
in.
simmering red hot at one point.
She was
the hottest of hots.
Around the time Posh Spice was hot, there was a movie called Clueless.
Clueless.
She was the lead in Clueless.
I remember that.
She was like probably less than 20. So anyway,
Right,
now
so
she's made a
check that
second
out,
movie.
folks. Watch Reptile for the next Millennial Book Club.